Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be solving the declaring typed variables challenge in the Pairwise curriculum. Now this challenge is written in TypeScript like all of the other programming challenges in the Pairwise full stack TypeScript curriculum. And here we're looking at one of the very fundamental components of TypeScript, which is declaring typed variables, or in other words, associating an explicit type with the data that you're using in your programs. So this challenge is very basic, but it illustrates a fundamental point, which is important to understand. So in the editor here, I have three variables which are declared, but I'm not doing anything with them, and I'm also not assigning them to any value. So they're just here, and if you're familiar with JavaScript, you will know that these variables implicitly have the value undefined right now. But the idea of TypeScript fundamentally is we can associate specific type information with the data in our programs. So to solve this challenge, we want to give these three variables a specific type declaration. So we can basically say to TypeScript, look, these variables are supposed to be a specific type, such as string, Boolean, number, and so on and so forth. Now, right now, if we look at the code in the editor, we see we have these little squiggle dots beneath the variable names. If I hover over those, we have this box up here, and the box is telling us the same message for each variable. It's telling us variable third implicitly has an any type, but a better type may be inferred from usage. All right, that's pretty interesting. So it's telling us that by default right now, this variable declaration has the type any. And in TypeScript, the any type basically is kind of like a catch-all or default type to represent anything. So essentially, this doesn't convey any type information about what these variables are supposed to contain in terms of data. They could truly be anything. And while this does have its place to sometimes have a use for the any type, in most cases you want to use an explicit type definition when you know what kind of data you're dealing with, or you have an expectation about what a specific data type should be. So here we want to go ahead and solve this challenge by explicitly adding these type annotations for these variables. So as we see in the tests down here at the bottom, the first variable should have the type string. Now to add a type definition to a variable declaration like this, we just add a colon after the name, and then the keyword which represents that type. So for string, that's the string keyword. For Booleans, that's the Boolean keyword. And for numbers, that is the number keyword. Now you can see that that little squiggle beneath the variable names disappeared. And if I hover over the variables, we now see that they have an associated type declaration. So TypeScript effectively knows what data type these are supposed to be. Now, if I wanted to come down here and assign values to these, I could say first equals, this is a string. And I can do this, of course, because these are defined using the let keyword rather than the const keyword. If I changed this to const, we would see that we have a type error, which prevents me from reassigning the variable. Maybe we'll get into that further in another video. So let's change this back to let. So we can reassign the value, and we can say second equals true, or we could say second equals false. So these are valid. And then we can say third equals 1000. So this is all valid. Now, if I wanted to come down here and say third equals, this is a string, we would see that there's actually a type error. There's a red squiggle here. And if we hover over that, we see type string is not assignable to type number. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to say, okay, here's a string value, and we want to assign that to this third variable. But up here, we've already typed the third variable to be a number. And the string type is not the same as the number type. So TypeScript is telling us you cannot do this. You cannot assign a string type to be this third variable here because it's defined as a number. Now, what if we came back here and we removed this type declaration? Now the type error goes away, And if we hover here, we can see that we have the any type again. And so what's happening is, because we're not explicitly giving third a type definition, it can be effectively any type. And so we're first assigning it to be a number, and then we're assigning it to be a string. But in both cases, it retains this any kind of type information with it. And again, this is not really helpful, or not what you want, if you're trying to kind of build programs that run correctly and don't have errors, because ideally you would like to know, if you have data in your programs, what the type is at any given time. And if you have variables typed with the any type definition, you lose that information. So we want to come back and restore this number type definition, and then that will prevent us from reassigning it to be a string. So let's remove that. And now, since we've essentially solved the challenge, let's go ahead and run the code. And we will see that this does pass the tests. So this has been a brief introduction in how to define types with variable definitions in TypeScript. And it's explained why this is important, and also what will happen if you don't have appropriate type definitions for your variables. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. We will have a lot more videos like this coming in the future. And if you thought this challenge was interesting, or you want to try to solve it yourself, or solve other similar challenges, please take a look at Pairwise. There are hundreds of challenges here, which are all teaching the basic principles of how to program, and many of them are completely free to work through. So please check it out, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye.